Welcome. My name is Stephanie Ellis, and I'm a psychologist and a concerned parent. This is the beginning of my series aimed at getting the word out to schools, districts, and parents about the need to start high schools later, specifically 8:30 a.m. or later. In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of the research about how bad early school start times are for teens and how much better and what kinds of improvements we see when we make the switch. So stay with me. Let's start with this. Teens aren't lazy. Or they're not just lazy, okay? And they're not just overscheduled either, although they might be overscheduled, right? The changes that happen in the adolescent sleep cycle, that is your teens naturally getting sleepy later and naturally waking up later, that's normal. It's just a part of their development. In fact, it's not just a part of their human development. Mammals are like this. All right, puberty and its changes, this is one of the ones that accompanies it. It is not an issue of discipline. It is not an issue of willpower. It's not being lazy. Add to that, teens need more sleep than adults. They are going through major cognitive maturation. They are going through major physical growth and changes. Most of that happens when they're asleep, okay? They need more sleep than adults. They even need more sleep than they did when they were in the 5th grade. In fact, they need an average of about 9.5 to 10 hours of sleep per night. And the truth is, they're just not getting enough sleep. Study after study shows they just don't get enough sleep. Here's an example. 73% of US high school students are getting less than a recommended 8 to 10 hours of sleep on school nights. 68% of them are getting less than 7 hours, right? That means a lot of things, okay? Chronic sleep loss. And I have a lot of videos that are going to talk about each of these in detail. But for this right now, what you need to know is that it poses risks to physical and mental health, public safety, and academic performance. I'm going to flesh that out a little bit for you. But if anything that you hear in this video today excites you or you're interested in it, check out my other videos giving a lot more details. Okay, so maybe I have you convinced that teens are not getting enough sleep, and maybe you know your teen is not getting 9.25 hours of sleep a night, all right? But why start school later, you ask? I'll tell you, the research says just going to bed earlier doesn't work, and it says starting high school later does. So let's check that out. So how does starting school later help? You're going to notice these videos are going to be filled with lots and lots of references down below. I'm just the messenger here, just presenting the research to you, okay? So one of the ways that starting school later helps is academic performance. Academic performance improves, especially for disadvantaged students. And how do we see that? We see it in higher standardized test scores, higher GPAs, especially in morning classes. We see higher college admissions test scores, less tardiness, higher attendance. They go to school more, so they do better in school. Put that all together, and we get higher graduation rates too. All right, in addition to academics, starting high school later improves teens' physical health. How do we see that? We see a healthier BMI. We see better markers for long-term cardiovascular health. We see teens making better dietary choices. Yes, choices, better choices. We see more physical activity, less obesity, less screen time. We see lower consumption of caffeine, lower use of nicotine, lower use of drugs. And we see fewer accidents across the board, including car accidents, and fewer injuries across the board, including sports injuries. And then add to that, we also see teens doing fewer risky behaviors. And maybe that's plenty, but starting school later also helps improve teen mental health. In fact, on every dimension that's been studied. All right, this shows up like lower rates of depression, hopelessness, and sadness, lower rates of suicidal thinking and planning, less anxiety, less nervousness, less worry, less test anxiety. All right, we see improvements in mood and emotion regulation, and don't tell me your teen doesn't need that a little. We see better coping. Instead of just negative thinking, we see more problem solving and we see more reaching out for social support. We even see improvement in student-family interactions. And as if that's not enough, starting high school later also reduces delinquency and problem behavior. So we see improvements in classroom behavior, we see less disciplinary action, fewer suspensions, we see less risky behavior, including risky sexual behavior, we see reduced substance use, less physical aggression, and fewer juvenile arrests. We can really agree these are things that we want. And maybe this is something that you've never heard of before, but the research has been out for a long time. And all the scientific bodies and many legislative bodies know it too. Okay, the Surgeon General, the CDC, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Psychological Association, the National Association for School Nurses, and since I'm in Fort Bend, it's worth saying, the Texas Department of Health and Human Services and so many more agencies have looked at the research and made recommendations that we need to be starting high schools no earlier than 8:30 in the morning. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm going to try to keep all of these short and packed with information for you. As always, please share it if you found this informative. Share it with your district administrators, with your school staff, with your teachers, with other parents, even your students, okay? These folks all want kids and teens to do well and be healthy, and if they know the research, they'll know how important a later start is. And they need our impact. Why hasn't this happened, right? It's because you and I and our voices aren't loud enough to make the change. All right. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you on another one.